So our last speaker of the day is Stephen McCormack, who's our project executive here within the Irish Bioenergy Association. Stephen holds a bachelor's degree in energy, sustainability and environmental science from IT Sligo and a postgraduate in environmental sustainability from UCD. So his focus over the last number of years with IrBEA has been through several Interreg projects such as 3C, Redirect and currently Cascade, which is focused on the development of biochar. So Stephen is going to give us a discussion on this over the latest project. And so Stephen, welcome to the stage.
Okay, thanks Noel, and yeah, Lucas, thanks for sticking around to listen to me the last presentation of the day, so fair play to you. Right, so I'm here to chat about our Interreg Northwest Europe project. So for those of you who don't know what Interreg is, it's an interregional EU-funded project, so interregional cooperation is essentially what it's about. In this particular funding program, it's ERDF funded, so that's European Regional Development Fund, and this one is Interreg Northwest Europe. So we partner with countries from around northwest region of Europe. There are other program areas within the Interreg programs. Okay, so we're just chatting about the Cascade project. So, sorry, I'll skip on. So, Cascades, circular conversion cascades to transform residual biomass into carbon products. A big, long, fancy name. Just to bring us back a little bit, I guess, this is our third successive project with the same consortium within the Interreg program. But the actual grouping of project partners goes back with its origins in the Progress project and combined projects back as far as 2008, where the University of Grassland Science in Kassel in Germany were looking at ways of valorizing low-value residual biomass, such as conservation grasslands that were cut late in the season with no nutritional value for animals, or roadside sweepings or hedge cuttings, that sort of material. And they hit upon a pre-treatment and post-treatment processing technique, which involved demineralizing using hot water, this low-value biomass, and with a view to producing a solid fuel pellet or briquette like the one pictured there in the center, for the purposes of providing thermal energy. So IrBEA joined back in maybe 2016, 2017 for the Redirect project, which added an extra step at the end of this process chain, which was pyrolysis. And so they started making biochar and activated carbon from low-value residual biomass. And so that ran for 3 years, and then we were fortunate enough to have the 3C project, creating a circular carbon economy. And that was exploring, well, once you produce this biochar, what can you do with it? What can it be used for? How can you put it to good use? And so that finished up just late last year. And once again, the same consortium, we're continuing our work now with the Cascade project. So at the heart of it, it's a transition towards a place-based circular economy with a specific objective in enhancing circular and resource efficiency within specific regions. In terms of budget, it's 4 million over the course of 3.5 years, and it'll run until 2026. And we have 7 project partners from across Northwest Europe. So, as I mentioned, led by the University of Grassland Science in Kassel in Germany. We also have Blink, which is the Blended Learning Institute, and Dr. Tim Schultz is our project coordinator. From Luxembourg, we have SIDEC, which is a Council for Economic Development for the Construction Sector. And they bring a wealth of expertise in terms of building materials. Then from Belgium, we have formerly known as Pro Natura. It's a social enterprise called Kimcrecht, and they do green waste management for the local municipalities, and they employ and work with people from disadvantaged communities and long-term unemployed. Our second higher education institute is the University of La Salle in France. We're also delighted to be joined by the municipality of Enschede in the Netherlands. It's nice to have local authority on the team, and then ourselves at IrBEA make up the 7 project partners. So we have representation from all across Northwest Europe. We used to have partners based in Aberystwyth and Severn Wye Energy Agency in Wales, but unfortunately, since Brexit put a stop to their involvement in the Interreg project, they are still involved, but unfortunately not full project partners anymore. Now, I'm going to do a bit of a cop-out, and people alluded to playing videos, doing a good job of explaining, but I'm just going to play our little project video, which does a really good job of explaining. Cathal did a nice introduction into biochar, but sometimes a video can just make it a little bit easier to understand. So it's about 4 minutes long.
37 million tonnes of residual biomass are wasted in northwest Europe, which corresponds to a potential of about 2% of total CO2 emissions in northwest Europe. The use and conversion of these waste biomasses into biochar is thus becoming an important strategy in the fight against climate change. In biochar, carbon can be stored for the long term. It can replace fossil coal and be processed into other products. This makes biochar the basic material of a circular carbon economy, which not only has a positive climate effect, but can also lead to sustainable economic and social development. However, the circular carbon economy is more than just a purely technical solution. It requires a well thought out, preferably local management concept in which 4 central elements and process steps are optimized and coordinated with each other. Biowaste is organic waste from private households, cities and municipalities, from gardening, forestry and agriculture, and residual biomass from nature conservation areas. This biowaste includes, among other things, green cuttings and hedge trimmings, roadside greenery, food scraps and residual wood. Biomass management here includes collection, transport, storage and pre-treatment of the biomass. Biomass is converted into biochar in pyrolysis furnaces in the absence of oxygen. This prevents the carbon from going into the air as CO2 and instead being stored in the coal. Pyrolysis produces thermal energy, pyrolysis gas and coal, which are used in the various plant systems in different quantities and qualities.
The technological range begins with simple Contiki kilns, through small rural plants that fit well into local heating networks, and ends with high-tech carbonisation plants on an industrial scale, for example as components in urban waste treatment and sewage plants. Plant design and management are determined by the regional framework conditions, the availability of biomass input, the intended heat or coal production, and the targeted biochar quality.
Biochar is the ideal feedstock for bioeconomy products and services. It has outstanding properties for water and nutrient binding and can be used in various industries. It is active in the filtration and purification of water and wastewater and can be used as a valuable soil substrate for gardening, agriculture and forestry. They are used as bedding in stables and for the reduction of odour nuisance in various industries, from medical technology to sanitation, and as an aggregate in the construction industry, clay plaster, concrete and asphalt. A sustainable carbon circular economy should be strategically planned. It makes sense to base this planning on necessary development scenarios, for example, climate-neutral urban planning, sustainable water management, water storing and heat-resistant cities. Promoting biodiversity, extensification of land, and for sustainable agriculture. The circular carbon economy must link all 4 areas in a sustainable way and implement them locally, based on the available biomasses, optimal plant design and biochar qualities. Product and value chains for the regional bioeconomy are being developed. It offers opportunities not only for climate protection and economic value creation, but also for socially and participatively oriented regional development in Europe.
Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that. You might be a bit more clued into this thing called biochar in case you hadn't been aware of it before. Now, just back to the Cascade project. So 3 main work packages we're focusing on. Implementing local circular carbon biomass to biochar systems within the 7 different countries across Northwest Europe. Then we'll be developing, well, the implementation, we'll be looking at things like collecting, processing, pre and post treatment of biochar, or of the biomass, subsequent conversion to biochar, and then also the applications. We'll also be looking at various different quality management systems. And then at the heart of any of these Interreg projects, there tends to be a capacity building and stakeholder engagement piece to try and take your learnings and promote them to other regions so they can implement them themselves. We're delighted to have chosen Donegal as our pilot region for this particular project, and as you can see there at the bottom of the screen, our associated partners are Donegal County Council, Kalulta, who I'll discuss in a moment, and then Dr. Robert Johnson is over there in his consultancy hat as Biocarbon Ireland as well, so we're delighted to have them on board. So with regards the 7 different regions, all our different project partners all have their own expertise within their localities. So we're all looking at various different applications or scenarios, as we call them here. So we have partners looking at water treatment, so sewage water or wastewater treatment with the use of biochar. We have another project partner looking at combined heat and biochar production, so using the excess thermal energy produced from biochar production. We have other partners who are looking at urban greening and creating wildlife habitats using biochar as a substrate within green roofs and vertical walls. We have other partners who are experts in construction materials, looking at CO2 negative building materials and biomaterials. We have another Uni La Salle looking at the whole concept of sponge cities, so changing surfaces, impermeable surfaces into permeable to allow percolation of rainwater into groundwater and treatment on the way down. With any of these Interreg projects, there's always a community or social aspect, and so our colleagues are looking at that. But as you can see here in scenario number 6, we're particularly focused on rural input materials for biochar for agri-horticultural scenarios. And so Etna and Mairead are possibly still in the room, or they might be going home at this stage. So they're the team behind Kalulta. So if you're not aware of what Kalulta is, it's a social enterprise, I guess you'd call it. It's a commercial horticulture enterprise up in Falcara, Gorta Herc, part of northwest Donegal. It's the site of former historic greenhouses that used to feed the fruit and veg markets in the 70s before the glass houses fell out of disrepair. But they've been brought back into production in recent years, and it's developing as a northwest bioeconomy hub. So as you can see, it's just right there on the coast. They have access to a lot of marine and terrestrial biomass. They're involved in a number of interesting projects. They're also sustainable energy community mentors for the Donegal region, and so they have an interest in all things bioenergy and renewable energy related. You can see pictured there is a MyGug, which is a micro-digester, which they use for processing some of their feed waste on site. They operate under regenerative and organic principles, and they also work with a cohort of local farmers trying to bring unproductive parcels of land back into production. They're also doing research with UCD on various different biostimulants, and so it's a really interesting site. Also proud owners of that little Contiki kiln, so that's biochar production on the micro scale. And we ran a workshop along with Bernard Carey of the Biochar Co-op there a couple of weeks ago, and we invited their local stakeholders along to hear from Bernard and hear some of his expertise he's built up in recent years. And so on that day we were talking to some of their local stakeholders and taking expressions of interest with a view to seeing what sort of biomass they might have access to, what sort of applications they might want to put the biochar to. And so we're fortunate enough that they have a ready-made network of local farmers, but also local conservation groups who are interested in maybe tackling some of the invasive species that they had trouble with, including rhododendron, and seeing whether that can be put to use for water treatment within local sensitive water bodies. We also have one of our newer members, Bioenergy Energy, who are after installing a renewable powered biomass processing facility, and they have eyes on getting a biochar production unit up and running before Christmas. They're using excess wind that they have from an on-site wind turbine to dry biomass for wood fuel supply using electricity, which is very interesting. And then the partnership with the stakeholders within Donegal are already paying dividends, and I was delighted to hear that Donegal County Council, along with Kalulta, were successful in being awarded an EU Horizon project called Pathways to Resilience, which enables local authorities and municipalities to apply for money to implement adaptation methodologies locally. And so hopefully over the course of the next few months, they will be able to use this additional pot of money to scale up their production from the simple Contiki kiln to something a little bit more sophisticated, such as the unit pictured here, which again is made by one of our members down in Cork, Christopher. He's in the room here somewhere as well. So yeah, look, that's just a quick introduction to the Cascade project. It's open to people from Donegal, but if you're interested in getting involved in some capacity or you want to find out more, my details are on the screen. And with that, I think I'll hand it back to Noel and you can close it out.